Welcome to another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back. And of course, today, man, we're getting to all things San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals. Are the 49ers going to continue to kick ass? I have somebody joining me that's going to talk with me about all of that stuff. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys already know what to do, man. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe this video. Yeah. It's Friday as well. So you already know what we do on Friday, man. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. We are giving out $50 on Underdog Fantasy. So you got to put your username in the chat. If you don't already have Underdog Fantasy, just go in the description. There's a link right there. It'll take you to Underdog Fantasy. You can sign up, use the promo code Crocky, and you'll be eligible. That'll make you eligible to get this $50. All right. So who doesn't want $50 free from Underdog Fantasy to potentially just lose all your money? But whatever. Don't lose your money, win money. I've been on the heater, but last night was probably one of the first days where I did win. I did win $125. So never mind. I was gonna say I didn't win money. And then all of a sudden they gave me like half a yard from Jordan Love, and then I did win money. All right, so appreciate everybody for tuning in. I see the flames coming in. Our Bree Marie, she was on it, man. She's the first person in here. Let's go. We got Khalil Young. He in the chat. Let's go. Ricardo. And y'all know the same, man. 5 flames. You feeling good? Anything less than that, we need to talk about it. And I've been a big person, not big. I don't want to act like I'm like the biggest mental health advocate out there or anything like that. But, I've been open about some of the things that my wife had suffered with depression, anxiety, and it was a really hard time for her. And I just remember like the one thing that she told me that really helped her was having someone to talk to, having me to talk to, and not like judging her on where I'm thinking like, oh, this person going crazy or whatever. So if you ever need somebody to talk to, if you don't have someone, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'll give you my number and we could just rap, man, and just talk. And, I'm that person, that therapist Crocky. There we go. Therapist Crocky. But anyways, I don't think y'all came here to talk to therapist Crocky. I think y'all came here to talk San Francisco 49ers. They're taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm excited about this game because it feels like the Arizona Cardinals are a team who they really remind me of the 2017 49ers with Kyle Shanahan, his first year. And the 49ers lost their first 9 games, right? And obviously heading into that season, 49ers were not a team with high expectations. They were a team that had a lot of turnover, but they were very competitive. And although it's already different because the Cardinals have won a game, watching the Cardinals in the first 2 games, it was a team that's like, hey, we're competitive. Like we can potentially win some games. It might come, it might not come. But obviously they ended up being the Dallas Cowboys. Now compare them to the 2017 49ers because that was a team who at one point lost 5 straight games by 3 or less points. That was the first time that had ever happened in NFL history. So they were a team that, even though they weren't winning games, they were very competitive. And if you slipped up, they beat you, which they did with the Giants. And then Jimmy G took over, gave them that extra little oomph. And next thing you know, they reeled off 5 straight wins. So the Arizona Cardinals are a team that I'm not taking lightly. But I wanted to bring somebody on today to kind of give their thoughts on where the 49ers are, maybe their expectations on the 49ers coming into the season, and get their thoughts on this game as well. So I want everybody to give a nice welcome applause to Ashley. Ashley.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing this morning?
Good. I really liked that comparison. Do we think when Kyler comes back, they might just start winning all their games?
I think we hope that's not the case. Kyler Murray is interesting because he's someone who I think is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. And I was watching something
Yeah.
on Instagram this morning, laying in bed before I brushed my teeth or anything. But, I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see this guy talking about how, when you're short and you're playing football, it's tough. It's tough to get recruited. It's tough to, all of that, right? And some parents ask a question. He's like, yeah, there are the Kyler Murrays of the world, right? Where it's like this really short quarterback, but he is a special athlete. Like he's
Yeah.
drafted top 10 in football and baseball, which most of our kids, like that's
So
not them. Like
talented.
that's not my kids, So you can be short, but you have to be exceptional. And I think that Kyler Murray is an exceptional athlete, but he's missing something. It's a
Yeah.
leadership thing, or there's something he, obviously this is aside from his injury, but there's something that he's not grasping. That's like not, I feel like taking his game to the next level. We see his ability, we know how talented he is, but he's missing that one thing.
I will be curious, like if under Gannon, I wonder if that changes a little bit because he's had Cliff for a while, right, in college too. So maybe like that will push him. Maybe Gannon will bring something. I feel like Gannon has, which I thought he was super weird to start the season with all those like little videos they were putting out of him being weird,
Right.
but it seems like the whole team is really playing for him. So maybe he'll help with Kyler's mindset because I do think Kyler's a really fun player to watch, just like him run around and stuff. But you are right. It seems like leadership wise, he doesn't super connect with everyone. But I wonder with new motivation, he'll do that because they might be the Cardinals are ruthless. They could move on from him if he doesn't. And Dobbs hasn't been terrible. I mean, it's been 3 games, but
It's been 3 games. Real quick, you're talking about the head coach. You weren't into that thing when he was talking. He was like, "Gotta have that fire in your gut. Gotta have that." How many of you walked to He was like, "How many of you walked to the facility? How many of you got a
yeah, like
ride? Like,
talking about
did you feel
taking
that
the bus
fire?"
and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh
"What the fuck is
God,
this dude talking about?" So
it was
he was a little
so weird.
interesting. I think he would have lost me. But if you're winning games, then
They've
all things are good.
overperformed my expectations just based on not even seeing anything. Just that video, I was like, okay, well, that's not serious.
I wish I would have had that ready so we could show everybody so they could see just exactly like what we're talking about.
Please.
It was weird, but he also is the same coach. He might have a little fire in him because there's this video that just surfaced, and it's from when the Eagles were going to play the 49ers in the playoffs, and he's in his G-Wagon, all black, matte black. It was nice. And he rolls his window down and yells to some Eagles fans, "We're going to fucking gut them." And he was talking about the
Oh,
49ers.
there
And
you
they
go.
did gut us. Obviously there was an injury,
Yeah.
but he got a little fire to him too. So maybe that's what's helping them right now. But we're going to definitely get to that game. Let's start with the 49ers here. All right, Ash.
Mhm.
Obviously, you contribute to the spaces on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, as my guy Chris, aka Mr. Roscoe's or Roscoe's Mister on Twitter, says
Oh,
here. And you've given a lot of your thoughts on there, but maybe people here haven't quite heard it. And I know you have a YouTube channel you're starting up. We'll plug that here a little bit later. But right now, like the 49ers head into this season, you see the drama with the quarterbacks and you have an
yeah.
injury, Brock Purdy, and you just lost in the NFC Championship game. But what were your expectations for this team heading into the season?
It's hard because my expectations were high because they performed well, but they weren't necessarily win the Super Bowl. They were kind of I bet that we'll get to the NFC Championship again, or hopefully we'll get to the playoffs again. I did feel like they should start out faster because they were starting with CMC this year. I think people might have overlooked that he was a mid-season trade, and
Mm,
a reason they've started slow in the past, in my opinion, was their running backs were always hurt. Right, Mitchell was hurt, wasn't Mostert hurt? So I feel like starting with a healthy CMC, they should be starting out fast. Now, I will say prior to trading Trey Lance, which I was firmly against. When it happened, I thought the more people on the roster, the better. If Purdy got hurt, we didn't know about his elbow. But I think in hindsight, that actually was a really good move by the organization because it really united the locker room, and Kyle has seemed to be chosen his guy. He called him the real deal. In press conferences, he talks about him differently than he's ever spoken about Jimmy or Trey or anyone. So I don't know what kind of reflection he did, or if that was a coaching decision that he made, or maybe he just genuinely likes Purdy so much better that he's like wants to talk positively about him. But I think how they ended up handling it has catapulted them into coming out pretty hot. Like I said, they have CMC, they chose their quarterback. Um, the additions on the defense seem to be really good so far. So I'm glad that they finally got the Bosa deal done. I think they could be even more dominant. I think that's kind of scary. Is I actually don't think they're at their peak right now. I think their offense still can gel a little bit more. I know Kittle was hurt in preseason, so I feel like he isn't his top self. Nick Bosa's finally getting into his top self. He's been killing it with the pressures, but sack wise, um, I just think as the team goes on, they always perform better. So it's kind of exciting to think that they're 3-0 and maybe not at their best right now.
Yeah, and really probably scary for the league as well to see this team get off to a hot start. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people noted, myself included, that typically it takes a little while for this offense to start to gel. People look at the 49ers and they say, oh, the team starts slow. And it's like, well, no, not the team. The offense starts slow. And a
Yeah,
lot of times
yeah,
it feels like they're trying to like get into that groove. The offense is maybe a little complicated. So a lot of times early on, you're not seeing a ton of points from the 49ers offense, but maybe the
yeah.
difference is Brock Purdy. And, we alluded to the elbow injury, but this is a guy that there's been a lot of talk about Brock, what he is, what he isn't. I think we've all discussed that or given our thoughts. But right now, it feels like he's clicking on all cylinders. So, what were your thoughts on kind of his elbow recovery? And then just how good do you think Brock can be? Because right now, if you look at the numbers, he's really playing at a top 5 level. Even if you don't consider him a top 5 quarterback, he's playing at
Yeah.
that type of level. So, did you have any concerns about the elbow? And then what have been your early thoughts on what you've seen from him, whether it's the good, the early struggles in some games, but just overall thoughts on Brock?
Definitely. There's so much there. Starting with the elbow, I was for sure concerned. That's, I think, one of the main reasons I was against trading Trey is I wasn't super confident in Darnold. I thought if he had to come in, he would definitely perform better than he has in previous teams that he's been on, just talent level and coaching wise. But I was really nervous. I feel like it is kind of miraculous that he's came out and seemingly had no issues. He was a little bit inaccurate in the last game, and I hypothesized when I first watched it that maybe that's because during the week he received some rehab and more rest. I know that that's pretty common when people are recovering from injuries, so maybe with it being an earlier game, that's why. But I, to be honest, think that that's kind of conspiracy theory, and it's probably way more was just he was blitzed a lot and he had to get used to it. Because as the game went on, his arm looked fine, and in maybe the first game, I know some people are saying it looked a little bit weaker, and I don't think it's a strong arm, but I'm just comparing it to what it was last year pre-injury. I feel like it seems the same, which I think is what the Niners hoped for, and I guess I'm a bit of a skeptic because I didn't see it, but now I'm seeing it, and I'm extremely impressed. Um, he's also been throwing to his right a little bit more, throwing to the sidelines a little bit more. So I feel like he's growing in areas where I might have previously doubted him. Um, I still don't think he's the most elite quarterback, but and I think those numbers can be deceiving. I wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo really like top 5 his entire time under Kyle
He
Shanahan.
was.
Nate Sudfeld, right? Is it I every once in a while you see that graphic where it's like Mahomes, Favre, and like Sudfeld or something. Have you ever seen that? Whenever Nate Sudfeld plays, I feel like they pop that up and they're like, "Look, he did this record." I'm like, that's not because of him. So I
Right.
think having Kyle is a huge thing, but I don't know. I want
Nick
to be
Mullins. You're talking about Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. There we go. I want to
Yeah.
diminish I want to diminish Purdy less is kind of what he's doing is extremely impressive. Um Kyle's had other quarterbacks and they haven't consistently put up 30. So I think he's doing really well at making quick decisions. His arm looks as good as it did pre-injury last year, and I wonder what you think. Like, I feel like it could go one way where as the season goes on, it could get a little bit more sore, maybe need more rest, or he could be building up strength now and his arm could actually be getting better since he didn't get to like normal quarterbacks in the offseason get to increase their arm strength and kind of work on that. But he had to spend that time rehabbing. So it's very possible that his arm and like talent level gets even better as he goes on. Like he's still very young in his quarterbacking career, you know? And I know
Yeah.
he's
No.
experienced in college, but with the pros.
Right. No, he definitely is. And I think from like the arm strength standpoint, I think it's kind of peaked. And that's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. You watch him, and as long as he plays within the structure of the offense, makes his plays off script, but doesn't try things that he's not capable of doing, he's going to be fine. Right. And when I say that, like things that he's not capable of doing with his arm, there are very few things that he can't do. All right. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people, when they think of, a big arm, like, oh, this guy has a strong arm. Look, he threw the ball 70 yards down the field. Like, no, it's not those type of throws. It's actually all the other throws that might be either a tighter window or an intermediate throw, where, like we saw with Justin Herbert, and I actually posted this video in the last episode on Wednesday. But you had Herbert rolling to his left, and he throws the ball across the field. You're not supposed to throw the ball across the field at all in the NFL. They tell you don't do that. But when you have this arrogant arm like Herbert has, you can roll out to the left, throw a missile across the field, and he's going to get there on the line. Like that's when having the bigger arm matters. I see Case 49 in the chat. He says deep outs. That definitely helps. There was a throw where Brock Purdy was slightly late to Deebo Samuel on the corner route. And I think everybody looked at it like a positive because, well, you got a pass interference out of it. But if he just has a bigger arm, well, that ball beats the defender to Deebo Samuel and does not the PI, which, again, you don't want to have to count on getting that pass interference call. It's not a PI. It's a touchdown because the ball jumps up on him. And it's like, well, Brock just doesn't have that arm. So if you are Brock and you don't have that big of arm, you can't wait. You just have to get the ball to him a little sooner, right? Like just throw it sooner, and then it gets there with the right timing. So there are ways to work around not having the biggest of arms, and I think that's fine. When you see how this offense is functioning right now, it's like, would it be any better if he had a bigger arm? I mean, at what percentage, right? If we're seeing this offense right now functioning, let's say, however Kyle Shanahan envisions this offense, right? Say Kyle Shanahan at 100, it's, I don't know, I'll throw out a name like, Matt Ryan. Like that, they were like clicking on all cylinders. He's pushing the ball down the field. He's doing all these things right. So let's say that's a 9 out of 10. Maybe there's even a better version in this offense. But let's say Matt Ryan, who won MVP under Kyle Shanahan, was a 9 out of 10. At what level is Brock Purdy functioning in this offense right now? Because to me, and someone on Bleacher Report said this, and I thought it was great. He said, right now, Brock Purdy is functioning in his offense under Kyle with the 49ers better than any other quarterback in the NFL right now is functioning in their offense. Now, I'd have to push back a little bit because Tua, I think, is probably functioning in his offense better than anyone else. But I would say it would be hard to find 5 quarterbacks. And again, you could take into account coaching and the players, et cetera. But I'd say it's hard to find 5 quarterbacks right now who are playing better in their situation than what we're getting from Brock Purdy. Would you agree with that?
I would. I do want to touch really quick on that Deebo throw that you were saying, though. And I think this came from a different stream you did, and you were putting it out, I think, with one of Dak's throws that ended up being underthrow, is you don't need arm strength until you need it. And then when you
That's
need
my
it,
favorite saying.
that kind of, what I mean? You're like,
I say with arm strength, I say with speed too, where it's like, you don't need to be fast, right? Like, because a lot of people talked about 49ers drafting the safety out of Penn State in the 3rd round. And they're like, oh, man, Tig. He was like, you got Tig out there. He ran a 4.65. He doesn't have to be like this really fast guy. He's instinctive. He does these things. And it's like, yeah, you don't need to have that speed until you need to have that speed. And when you're chasing somebody, I feel like that with arm strength too, where I think a lot of fans put more emphasis on having a big arm. Typically, you get those guys higher because it's just having that kind of backup where if I do see things a little slow or if I maybe don't react as fast, boom, I have the arm strength to where I could fire this ball in there, as opposed to somebody like Brock who he can't do that. Like he has to be more
he has
right.
to be good in the other areas.
Yeah, he has to be really good in other areas. And the good thing with Brock is he is good in those other areas. So then now you get a high level of quarterbacking and like our guy Damon right here says, he is the first QB who elevates Kyle's offense. I'd say he's the first QB who elevates Kyle's offense
in the 49ers
to the extent that he has, because I can't say that Jimmy G did not elevate the offense to a certain extent, right? And I'm not saying, again, we're going like on the scale of 0 to 10. If Matt Ryan was a 9 out of 10, won MVP, didn't seal the deal, but he played very well. Maybe I want to leave a little room because there might be just a better version than even what we saw from Matt Ryan that another quarterback could potentially do. I don't know, but we'll say that's a 9 out of 10. Brock is probably functioning right now at about a 7.5 out of 10, which I think is really good. And I think Jimmy was at like a 7 out of 10. So I do think that Brock has been slightly better in certain areas. And I feel like there's less risk. When I say slightly, the crazy thing about YouTube, and you'll figure this out on your channel, even me just saying slightly better than Jimmy, people are going to take that as like a dig at Brock. And it's not a dig. It's just I see certain things, some things that, and man, like, he threw 3 passes into DB's chest and kind of got away with it last week,
Yeah.
right? Like there's still in areas where he can improve. So as long as he continues to do what he's doing while going through lumps and improving on the run, well, he can eventually be an 8. He can eventually be an 8.5. Hell, one day he might be a 10 out of 10 and better than what we even saw from Matt Ryan, right? Like now, so it's not a dig that I say Jimmy was at about 7, where
No.
Brock is at about 7.5, 7.8. All right.
That's
But go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm glad you clarified like by pointing out his almost interceptions. Because when you first said that, I was kind of like, I feel like the difference is a lot bigger than just a half a point. I think Jimmy did elevate it compared to other quarterbacks that Kyle has had in with the 49ers, but he also started a lot of fires and threw a lot of interceptions. Like Brock has
Yeah,
been a lot better at minimizing bad plays, but maybe also he's just been a lot more lucky. Um, but I don't know. I think like Mahomes is lucky. Obviously, Mahomes is also an incredible talent. So I wonder if luck has some. I wonder if there's something like about a quarterback that goes into luck. Like I wonder if Brock Purdy is going to eventually start throwing way more interceptions, or if he'll always kind of be pretty good at making good decisions. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like if
I
I
get
was
what you're
rating
saying.
it, I'd put Jimmy at like a 6 and Brock at like a 7.5, how you said. I feel like there's a little bit of a difference. I don't know, but maybe I just watched Jimmy too long and Brock is still new and he kind of runs around. So I'm like, oh, I like when he does that. And with Jimmy, I
Yeah.
was just like, please just hand it off.
I think there is a lot of luck that goes into quarterbacks, or defensive backs dropping the ball. And then now it's like, you look at the stats and Brock is one out of 4 quarterbacks who has yet to throw an interception this year. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like that's a big time stat. He has not. And I would assume that the other quarterbacks who have not thrown interceptions, they too probably would tell you, hey man, I had some picks or some guy, I gave some guys some opportunities and they just dropped the ball. Like they just dropped the
Yeah.
pick. So I think that happens with anyone, with any quarterback, but definitely right now, I think, especially if you ask the 49er fans, like, man, what's the biggest difference? And it's like, oh, well, Brock's not turning the ball over. It's like, well,
Like,
he's giving guys opportunities. They didn't take advantage of it. So let's continue to watch him. And again, that's every quarterback. You talked about Patrick Mahomes. I think there's years when Patrick Mahomes throws the most turnover worthy throws or gets the most like luck with dropped interceptions as well as turning the ball over as also. So those are things I think that happens at the quarterback position. I'm not knocking Brock at all on that. I just think right now, if you ask most people, the biggest difference, there's a little bit better mobility from Brock. We see that clearly.
yeah,
And
I
then we
like that.
haven't seen the
Capability.
interceptions, which even then, I don't think that Jimmy threw a, a lot of interceptions. It's not like he ever led the league. Like last year, Dak Prescott led the league and missed 5 games, led the league in interceptions
Yeah.
and missed 5 games. Like that's a lot of interceptions. Jimmy never did
Yeah.
that, but also we did know like
Maybe
he just
his were just so bad they stood out to me more.
they were
You know what I
bad.
mean?
Like that, like I
They were
think
like
of
bad timing. They were like red zone. They were like when you can't do it, You were like, "Oh, that really killed us."
I I I don't talk a whole lot during the games. I kind of watch the games and I'm just kind of evaluating. I'm not like my emotions aren't like super high or low during games. They're not. Unless I'm at a game and this other fan maybe like when I'm in Philadelphia, I was in Philly and the fans start talking. Like they got
Okay.
stuff to say. Then now you're gonna
Yeah,
bring
I
that
heard
Stockton out of me and I'm gonna start talking shit.
you.
But most of the time I'm really chill. I just watch the game. Jimmy Garoppolo made me get somewhat emotional. And it was against the Packers when he threw that interception in the red zone. He was targeting in the playoffs. It was in the one that was like in the super cold. He
Yep.
threw that interception, and I got up off my couch. Nobody else is in the room. It's just me watching the game. I'm in Arkansas at this time, so it's just me. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like, you can't throw that. So that's an ugly pick.
I watched that game with my dad and he like turned the TV off first. He was just like so angry. He had to literally regroup.
Yeah, no, that pissed me off. I see right now, Khalil Young says Jimmy already has 6 INTs. Part of again, this is not me defending Jimmy. I'm just saying how the luck goes, right? Like we've talked about the luck with Brock Purdy and interceptable passes getting dropped, which happens for every quarterback. Let me make sure I say that. All right, and how unlucky a quarterback can be as well. If you look at some of these interceptions that Jimmy Garoppolo has thrown, it's kind of like Like, damn, like that's tough. That's tough for Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
Most of them aren't just him just throwing the ball to a defender. He has a ball that's tipped at the line of scrimmage. Somebody jumps up, picks it off. He threw a ball to a running back in the flat. The linebacker jumped over the running back and picked the ball off. You know, it's like some of these things
Yeah.
are like really tough. He
That
had the
was
interception at the
Witherspoon,
end of the
right?
game. Hmm?
Didn't Witherspoon last game make like a crazy? Oh no, that never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, Witherspoon did pick a ball off, but that wasn't against the
The
that
Raiders, but
wasn't
it was
against
just
the
that it was that same vibe where they blamed. Didn't they blame?
it was like the receiver is like, how do you
Yeah,
let
yeah.
the
And you're like,
corner?
that was just an amazing throw. Like, there's nothing the quarterback could have done different, or an
Yeah.
amazing play. There's nothing the quarterback could have done differently.
So that's tough. Now again, we know Jimmy is not prone or is prone to definitely turning the ball over. Like we know that. I'd say if that's one of the differences that we're saying between the two guys, I'd say Brock has been kind of risky with those as well. And it's like ooh, to the point where he threw a ball right to a defender. George Kittle broke the ball up. Like he literally played defense and then did the seatbelt strap thing that the defenders do. Like that's saving your quarterback's ass. You know what I'm saying? So uh,
Yeah, he
I'm
definitely
not
has.
saying that Brock, like he at the end of the day, he has not turned the ball over. But it is something that those opportunities are there. And I think I saw someone talk about training camp interceptions. And we've seen a lot of people like, well, all those training camp interceptions, like, yeah, the
Yeah.
49ers training camp players caught the ball. And these guys in the games right now, the players have done a good job playing defense to eliminate that. So there are opportunities that he's giving guys to make plays, but luckily his receivers are really helping them out. You know, I mean, and
We
it just
should
is
have
what it is.
we should have taken that Brock Purdy throwing so many interceptions in defense instead of being like, we should have been like, oh well, maybe Brock Purdy will be lucky and our defense will just get a bunch of interceptions because that's what actually seems to be happening. Is our defense was just friggin' practicing. Unlike these other teams, our guys are catching the ball right now,
Right. Nah, they
specifically the
definitely
Broncos.
are. Our
Mhm.
guys are. And I see in the chat right now, this is the main thing, right? Like even outside of the interceptions that Jimmy has thrown, which are terrible,
Hospital balls.
uh, the concussion protocol guys, like the hospital balls, putting guys in harm's way. And I'd say we haven't seen a whole lot of that from Brock. So maybe keeping guys out of harm's way. I think a big part of that is his ability to throw the ball like down the field or at least attempt shots. Having guys like Brandon Ayuk, and I felt it when Ayuk wasn't out there, where it felt like the field was a little bit more condensed
Yeah.
and you saw guys jumping routes, right? Like you just saw guys jumping routes. They're meeting Debo at the catch point, and I thought that dang, like it's starting. It's feeling real Jimmy G-esque with these. And then all of a sudden you see the double moves, go route for a touchdown, throws the ball to Christian McCaffrey. Should have been a touchdown. You start to see that, and that really helps open things up so that you don't have all your receivers in concussion protocol. They're in protocol for other reasons, a rib, a shoulder, things like that. But I definitely want to turn the page from Brock Purdy. I think he's doing an exceptional job for the 49ers. Again, like I said, not many quarterbacks in the league running their offense better than what he's doing with the 49ers right now.
I agree. I feel like I was a little bit negative. I think he's doing good. I just think it's also okay to criticize.
Right. And like I'm good says, Brock is basically still a rookie. Yeah, like he hasn't even started 16
Yeah, a whole
games.
season. Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals game. So we talked a little bit about Kyler Murray earlier. Obviously, he's not playing in this game. You mentioned Josh Dobbs and how he's doing a good job. One of the four quarterbacks who has not yet to throw an interception in the game. But early in the Cowboys game, we saw him rip off a 44-yard run. So clearly, he's somebody who can utilize his legs. I don't know if that's what he's necessarily looking for, but he can do it. But is there anything that kind of scares you from Dobbs? He's been efficient. I think he's leading the league in completion percentage right now. He has James Conner in the backfield. But the Cardinals, a team that has been competitive, has some tough losses, beat the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's a great win. What are your thoughts on them?
Um, Overall, I mean, I do think the Niners will end up winning, but I definitely think they're so much better than I anticipated and most than everyone anticipated. I Going into the season, I thought they were like actively tanking. I thought they were like
Yeah,
trading away good players that they had. Even with Josh Dobbs, who is really good, they didn't get him till the last second. I think they could have won that first game if he had been there for more than like 20 seconds before the season started. Because he just didn't they like fumble snap their first game and stuff. I feel like he just wasn't in rhythm with everyone yet. And then as soon as
right.
he has been, they've been pretty good, specifically in the first half. I think they just have a lot, like not a lot of talent. So a team like the Niners, I think will just end up overpowering them, whether it's off the bat, like throughout the whole game, or at least the second half. I could if they were competitive, I could see it more them being competitive in the first half, and then like the Niners kind of pulling away in the second half as their guys kind of tire down. But I think Josh Dobbs has been really good. I think I'm pretty nervous about his running ability. I know the Niners did a good job at containing Daniel Jones, who first of all he just looked slow, but second of all Saquon Barkley was out, so they didn't like super
Yeah.
have to worry about you know like containing their running back and the quarterback. I feel like they were just like, okay, we're just going to make sure that we keep Jones in the pocket. Where now they're going to like James Conner is going to be a threat, so they do have to make sure that they're containing the
And he
run
kicked the
and
49ers butt a few years
yeah,
ago,
exactly.
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
People forget about that game. Arizona Cardinals just beat the 49ers to a pulp in the Bay Area. And James Conner had a big hand in the passing game and the running game. So he's definitely somebody that we should kind of like worry about, huh?
Yeah. So I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye out. I think I'll be really interested to see what Wilkes does to contain Dobbs. He's been pretty good in the face of pressure. I wonder if they're gonna try to just run their normal for. I'm not the thing is like I don't think they have the talent and like wide receiver and their skill positions to actually win the game, but I definitely think it'll be way more competitive than I anticipated in the beginning. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I
I
think
can
that's
see them
fair.
like getting a touchdown early, getting some field goals, something like that, or field goals as the game goes on. But I feel like, you know what I mean? If Connor breaks one or if Dobbs is able to, because he got 40 yards the other, so he could do something like that and get him down the field. But you just can't rely on that to like keep, if the Niners offense is going to score 30, that's just, I feel like not realistic to keep up that way. But I do think they're going to score some, which in the beginning of the year, I would have been like, that's not even a
They're
game.
not scoring anything. Yeah, one thing that I think sometimes fans, I don't want to say overreact to, but guys in the locker room, they ain't tanking. Like all these guys
Yeah.
have a job to do. Their livelihoods are on the line. Like I understand how quickly it can end for you, being up at that
Yeah.
level. So they're trying to provide for their families. So uh, maybe the organization is quote unquote actively tanking, but those players are not. And I also think that bringing in a guy, trading for a guy right before the season like Dobbs, kind of lets you know that hey, we're not tanking. Like we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to have a competitive team, and people are realistic with how close or how far away they are, right? Like they can uh, be someone where we know we don't have the best roster, but like, can we continue to kind of build towards the future? Our quarterback towards ACL, he's not going to start the season. Let's get something that's going to help us be competitive. So I
Yeah.
think the Dobbs move should let everyone know that this is a team, although they have had some different things going on, fired the coach, all that. They still are trying to win games. And if there is a game that they potentially can win, obviously we saw them beat the Cowboys, but a divisional game, like these are tough. And I'd say with 49 fans, because again, 49ers are so good right now. And I don't see how the Cardinals beat the 49ers, but I'll ask you about that. But divisional games are always tough. And we've seen, even when the 49ers were at their peak with Jim Harbaugh and Colin Kaepernick and those guys, like they'd still lose to the Rams when the Rams were like really bad.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, how do you lose that game? And it's like, man, it's a divisional game. Like those games are always tough. 49ers, when they've been really good, they've kind of sometimes taken a loss to the Cardinals, like they did that
Yeah.
year I was talking about. So do you see a path to where the Cardinals actually beat the 49ers? Like if I told you right now, right, if you come back on next Friday and we're talking about, man, the 49ers, they took a tough loss.
Oh,
Why do you think that is?
okay. So it has to be because Purdy gives the ball away and like kind of regress, like shows some huge regression. He's just flustered, which doesn't. How is he going to be flustered? Can you name anyone on their defensive line? But
Right.
if Purdy himself, not because of their defense, but just through himself, is having a bad day, just wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. No, I don't want to be too sarcastic. I think they planned really well against the Cowboys. I think like as a Cowboy hater, it's kind of fun to be like, oh, they just dropped it and they suck. But the Arizona Cardinals came in with a really good game plan, so um, I can see, like I said, James Conner going off and Dobbs getting the defense not being able to contain Dobbs. They get a couple lucky breaks, a couple lucky touchdowns. But I think the only way that they would win is more if the 49ers offense is limited. Like if if they can keep the score in the mid to early 20s, then maybe I can see the Arizona Cardinals somehow pulling that off. But I feel like if the Niners get to like 30, that seems it's going to be a large task for the Cardinals to do it. I also think that the Niners are the offense, which is kind of interesting because Debo, I feel like in his head might have a little motivation to kind of go off because I remember after the NFC Championship game, he made a comment being like, Kyle's found a weakness in Gannon's secondary in their defense, and me and Ayuk were going to exploit it. This was now I feel like they don't talk like that about the championship game, but this was like one of the first interviews when they were
Yeah.
still pretty feisty about it. But now I'm as a fan, I'm kind of like, should we hold Debo out? Should we protect him? I do know coaches I don't think feel that way. So if he's ready to go, I feel like he'll go. But I am interested in seeing how Kyle goes against the Cardinals defense because I do wonder, okay, what did you see? Obviously, the personnel is so much different. The Cardinals have a lot less talent, but can they still exploit him? I expect Ayuk will be. I think Ayuk probably would have played if the game was on Sunday last week because they said it was more of a pain tolerance thing. So I think he'll definitely play. I wonder if Kittle will be more involved, depending on if I know that I heard yesterday Jennings was also hurt or out of not out
Yeah.
of practice, but like on a side field. So I could see Ayuk and Kittle getting a lot of touches, and I'm interested to see how Kyle uses them. And same thing with the Cardinals have been really bad against the run. I feel like you told me to make a case that the Cardinals would win, and I'm just giving you reasons why they're going to lose. I think that if the defense
You know, you
gives
did
up
though. You
a
said
lot
if
of
Brock
run,
Purdy turns the ball over, if Brock turns
yeah,
the ball over
yeah, yeah.
several times, which he has
And I
not
feel like
done.
it'd
So
have to
again,
be. I feel like it'd have to be more than once. I think that he could. I feel like it'd have to be more than twice, but that seems really ambitious. So if he turns the ball over twice and the defense can't contain James Conner, or maybe they're really focused on that, so then Dobbs gets a lot of yards. If they keep the offense low, potentially they could do that. I don't believe that will happen, but there is a chance. I think they'll have a good game plan, and I think it'll be closer than I'm comfortable with. I think because I think the Niners are so good, could go to the Super Bowl. All that I'm like, it should be a blowout, and I imagine that it'll be more like the Giants and even the Rams game where it's kind of competitive for a while, and then they kind of show up, and you're like, okay, there you go. Divisional games, they're just I was just saying the Rams. It's for some reason they just stick around.
they just stick around. What
Mhm.
we're gonna do right now is, and we'll get into your thoughts on how good is the 49 team and just how far can they go. But first, I want to appreciate everybody and thank everybody for being in the chat right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Again, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, and that right there says they're going to double your deposit up to $100. Right now, they are doubling your deposit up to $500. All right, so that's what I want y'all to do now. If you don't have Underdog Fantasy, or if you do, put your username in the chat. Use promo code Crocky if you don't. All right. I'll give you guys about 10 minutes to get that going. Put your username in the chat. All right. I'll ask you again in a little bit after we get Ashley's takes on the 49ers and how good they can be. But of course, I'm giving away $50. It's Friday. We are giving away 50 bucks. Matter of fact, we're gonna give away 50 bucks to two people. All right. So Ashley is gonna be the one picking. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. You'll just
Oh,
pick
I'm
a random
excited.
person in the chat and
Okay.
or two random people, and we are giving two people $50 to Underdog Fantasy. All right. So if you don't have Underdog Fantasy, I'm giving you 10 minutes to get that set up right now. Go grab your wallet, your debit card, whatever you got to do. They'll double your deposit up to $500, not $100, $500 when you use the promo code Crocky. All right. But Ashley,
Oh, yeah.
how good can this team be? You've talked about how before the season expectations, or actually, hold on, rewind. You had a question that you wanted to ask about the locker room.
I did. I did. So this is solely just me assessing that like I'm not in the locker room, but I feel like the vibe has just been so much more unified this season. They seem so much more determined, which I feel like every every team, especially in the beginning of the year, you go on and your goal is to win the Super Bowl. But it just seems like there's something about this team in particular with the coach standing behind a quarterback, with them going out and making kind of those all-in moves, getting Hardgrave, signing Bosa, starting with the season with CMC. It just feels like they know that the coach believes in the guy. They know that the GM brought in the players that they feel like they need to win the Super Bowl. And I feel like they seem more determined and together than ever. Like the vibe just seems like they're like they have a unified vision and they're determined, kind of angry, but like in a brotherhood way where they're like, we keep making it this far and now we did the thing and we're gonna go get it. We've heard what you guys said. We know whatever. I don't know if it's what they said, but in us, we want to go win this. So I feel like the vibe is very much seems like we're gonna go win the Super Bowl to start the season. I know a lot of people thought John Lynch and Kyle maybe needed to get to the Super Bowl. Turns out they got contract extensions in the offseason, which is kind of weird.
Right.
Weird timing. I like that they waited until they won 3 games to announce that. That's kind of hilarious. But it does seem like the locker room seems so much more together. And when I was thinking back to the previous couple seasons, and it could just be the outside noise. I'm a fan. I listen to the media, I listen to, the different shows and podcasters, but it seemed like there was just always distractions and kind of like the players were always getting asked, "Oh, what about this quarterback? What about this one?" It just didn't seem it seems like now every question is kind of like, are you guys ready to win the Super Bowl? Are you going to win the Super Bowl? Okay, you did poorly on this play. How are you going to fix it so that when you're in a position to win the Super Bowl? It seems they're starting out. It seems like they're probably going to get there with the Eagles fighting for that number 1 spot. So I was just curious because you've been in a locker room, if that is actually a tangible thing or if it's just a fan thing where if there are distractions, do you think that that does kind of seep in and does this team seem more like maybe the 2019 team or maybe even a different version of that because they got to the Super Bowl but didn't win it all? Do you feel the vibe that I'm trying to explain, not doing a good job at it? And
No,
is
you're
that a
doing an
real thing
excellent job.
for players? Is that a real thing for players or is it only because I feel like fans can kind of be like that, and fans, I love getting into the more gossipy stuff, but I don't know. I feel like that probably does affect players, but maybe I'm wrong. And I'd love to know your opinion on that since you were in the locker room.
Now you definitely feel that. All right. I talked about earlier how guys have a job to do, so they're going to try to give their 100%. But when things aren't going great, it's really more so about you. Let me make sure I do my thing because of this. When things are going well and everyone is unified, it's about us. It's about this team. It's about making sure I do my part so that this team can reach the pinnacle, which, hoisting that number 6 Lombardi, right? And I think a lot of it starts with the leader. And I'm not saying anything bad about Jimmy as a leader. It felt like his teammates followed him, but it still feels even a little different with Brock Purdy.
Right.
And something I've seen with this, I'm gonna bring my coaching into it even more so than my time playing. But I've coached high school football twice now. All right, 2019, I coached at Edison High School out here in Stockton, California. 2023 now, I just moved back to Stockton. They got me to coach back at Edison High School, even though I said I wouldn't coach.
Oh, there you
All right,
go.
but I just love the kids. The vibes are drastically different. 2019, man, we just had some kids on defense. My secondary, we had headhunters. I mean, these guys going out, they're trying to knock heads off. They're coming out with the boombox. They actually got that from the 49ers. And it was funny because my guy, Lavelle Hawkins, I coached with Lavelle. Lavelle he played in the NFL a bunch of years, all that. But he's like, man, I want my guys turned up. So we definitely got a different vibe. It's like all minorities on the south side of Stockton. But we come out with the boom box. The guys turned up. They ready to go. We got 5-star guys. We got guys. Everybody. Our leader though was the quarterback, and the quarterback, just when things weren't going well, he's the one that's gonna bring everybody in. He's willing. I mean, he wasn't trying to fight people, but he was like, man, we got woo woo. Like he was turned up
Brought
to where
that
it's like
energy.
everybody was gonna lead. Everybody was gonna follow his lead. You know what I'm saying? And he just had this certain thing about him where everybody loved him off the field. They loved him on the field. I love the kid. He actually passed away now. He died in a car crash. But He was a kid who, like, if I was going through something, like I could come to practice and the quarterback was going to make me smile. Like he was that type of kid.
Yeah.
And I look at our team now, and the quarterback he's a sophomore. He hasn't really been in this spotlight. There's a lot of pressure on being good at our high school, and you don't see the team as unified around like either that one guy, and it's like who is kind of the leader, and okay, is the quarterback, are people behind him, and it kind of like not splits the team, but it kind of throws off the vibes a little bit. So we are still a good team in this area, but in 2019 we went toe to toe with Folsom, who's a big dog in Northern California, and we lost in the last seconds. They scored a touchdown on 4th and 7.
Oh.
All right, in the last seconds. But this team, we can't compete with Folsom right now because this team isn't unified enough. So again, you asked me more so about the 49ers and why it might feel different. I think
Really
that
quick for the really quick for the just like on the QB. I mean, that you kind of brought up the unification on that I didn't even think about. I mean, Jimmy wasn't even the poster when they would promote the 49er games. It would be Kittle or some other or last year CMC, Debo in 2021. He wasn't even the kind of face of the franchise after a while for the NFL when they were promoting the 49ers. That was an interesting, I didn't think about it like that. You really want to have, and that's a strength of Purdy. We were talking about earlier. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he has all these other things. I mean, right away going into that Dolphins game in his conference after, he was like, I knew I needed to bring the energy. I needed to show that I was confident so that these guys could all get behind me. And he's carried that through this entire time. Going into the season, I was like, how's this elbow going to be? He was like, my elbow's great. I might, came out slinging it, throwing it too far, probably, trying to at least show whether or not it hurts for him. He's showing everyone around him this is not going to be an issue, and you can stand behind me. So that was I like the quarterback angle of that. But yeah, back to the team.
And I think that's the biggest part about it. I think it's his leadership ability, going into the huddle, being demanding, and everybody talked about Jimmy as a leader. I think Brock has taken that to another level. And they're like, oh, it actually can be better than Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I think you're getting that from Brock on the field, off the field. He feels like someone that's a little bit more interactive with his teammates. Like, you hear a lot of the stories, and I try not to look too much into it, but Jimmy doesn't even respond to these guys off the field. Like when they would text him and stuff like that, won't respond to him. Once he left the 49ers and it was the whole offseason and everything, you hear some of the guys, and it's not like they're trying to take a shot at him, but they just bring up that, like, hey, I didn't really hear from Jimmy when he was here on the team. I definitely don't hear from him now. Like,
Yeah.
he's not responding to text message or anything. So I think Brock just kind of brings this more personable kind of vibe to the 49ers, and everybody has rallied around this little just scrappy quarterback. So yes, I think that is the difference. And I think because of that, everybody else is starting to get behind what Brock Purdy is. It took a while. It took a while for me. It took a while for a lot of people to just say, you know what? I think this is the guy for the 49ers. I think this is the guy that's going to take them to hoist number 6. But all right, Ashley, we're going to do it now real quick. Everybody right now in the chat, put your usernames on Underdog Fantasy. I'm giving away $50 to 2 different people today. And I said me, but Ashley is going to be the one to pick them. So go ahead right now. Usernames in the chat. Ashley's going to go through and she's just going to bloop, bloop. If you don't have Underdog Fantasy, download it right now or go to underdogfantasy.com. Sign up. When you use the promo code Crocky, you can double your deposit up to $500, not $100, $500 right now for a limited time. So aside from that, Ashley, you've been awesome. I'm looking at the chat. People are like, heck yeah, she's hella cool. So you're doing a great job.
Did you want me to pick 2 people right now?
All right, hold on. Let's give
them some time.
Let's give them like 2 more minutes. We're going to give you guys 2 more minutes to get those usernames in, just in case anybody's trying to sign up right now.
Do you have a score prediction? Do you do that? I
predict the 49ers win. We did have someone with a question for you. I just saw it. I think it was about a jersey. Hold on. It was about getting a jersey, I believe.
Okay.
Let me see. I saw it. I should have started when I saw it. Oh, here we go. Ashley, I need some red and gold. Which jersey does Ashley own?
Okay, so I suck. The only jersey I own is my dad. My dad got me one when I was a kid for Steve Young. Yeah.
So you got Steve
For
Young jersey.
yeah. I have a Steve Young one. It's too small for me now because it was. I mean, I could probably wear it now. Could probably wear it, but he got it for me when I was a little kid. Has it hanging up on our wall at home, along with like a 49er blanket that was like my baby blanket because for some reason he wasn't like, I want to get this little girl a cute pink blanket. He was like, you'll like the 49ers. And
So
it's kind
so
of
when you go to
it's
a
the
game,
same blanket and it's on the couch. I kind of feel like that should be recycled at some point, but it's special to him.
I know you were just at the LA game, I believe. So when you go to the game, what do you wear? Just a t-shirt, like a 49er t-shirt?
Yeah, yeah. So I have some 49er t-shirts, or I'll just like I have some red dresses or something like that. Just team colors. Team colors. I know. I gotta get some. Your face looked disappointed. I gotta get some.
No, I don't wear jerseys either. So you're good. I mean, I have
Oh,
one
okay.
jersey. I have one jersey that I own.
I feel
It's
like
a
it's
Colin
smart to
Kaepernick
get
jersey.
like that's good. I feel like it's smart to get like a jersey of someone in the past. I in 2021, um, I got like way more into football again, and I remember wanting a Debo jersey at the time, and I still think that that would be a great purchase. But I think for like when all the contract stuff was going on, I was like, wow, what if I had a jersey and he just left? That would kind of suck. So I feel like going, a Steve Young, Jerry Rice, something like that would be the smartest decision for now. Maybe if they
Yeah.
win a Super Bowl this year, you could get a CMC jersey because I feel like that means he's going to be a Niner for the rest of his career. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Matter of fact, the Colin Kaepernick jersey was a gift to me when he was actually playing. I worked at this school, and this lady was like, "Hey, I got this jersey. I don't even know how she got the jersey, but it was brand new. Tag was still on it." She said, "You like the 49ers?
That's
Do you
nice.
want it?" I said, "Sure." So she gave me
Yeah.
a cap jersey. So I have that. I also one of my guys had like this thing where he was giving away stuff, and he gave me a CMC jersey. So I do have a CMC jersey,
Oh, there
but
you
it's
go.
autographed, so it's not something I wear. But I wear the Kaepernick jersey, and I actually don't even know where my cap jersey is right now. But if you see me at a game, more times than not, I got the cap jersey on.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
can
yeah.
find it in this move, I had a move, and I'm not sure exactly where it is. Um, all right, it's time. You are
Okay.
picking two people. You got to scroll through and look at these usernames, but you are picking two people to gift $50 to Underdog Fantasy.
Texas Niner said, or Joe Montana. Yeah, definitely, or Joe Montana. Um, okay.
I know, no pressure.
I know. There was, what about, am I getting, trolled? Niner Gang, Tay. I don't know why I
All
read it
right,
as
Niner
Niner Gang.
Gang Tay, let's go. Okay, that's one winner. Hold on, let me write it down. Niner Gang Tay. No, you are not being trolled. That's really his
I
username.
I just can't read and read it as Niner Gang Toe at first, and
Oh,
really sorry about that. I'll work on my reading later. There was a pineapple one. NBN Pineapple. He was like one
NBN
of the first
Pineapple.
people to
All
do it.
right, there we go.
Yeah.
NBN Pineapple. That's it.
That's dope. So now they get $50?
Yeah, they get fifty
Oh yeah.
dollars. I just put their names into my people, and they be like, "All right, Croc, we're on it," and they uh deposit it into their account, their
I like it.
Underdog Fantasy account.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So shout out to Niner Gang Tay. Shout out to NBN Pineapple. You guys are the winners of today's $50 giveaway. All
Sorry
right,
for
$50 giveaway.
anyone.
Liars said, "Damn, it's rigged." It is not rigged, but I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Here we go. Got another question. I'm good. I have an Eric Crocker jersey. No, just kidding. I only have 49er hats and the Super Bowl, five Super Bowl throw blanket and the helmet one also. That's awesome. One thing I do want to get is like more like the throwback Super Bowl hats, like the
Yeah.
vintage hats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think those are dope. So I got to get me one of those.
Definitely.
But that is going to do it for this episode of the Eric Crocker Morning Show, man. I appreciate Ashley for coming on. You did an amazing job. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Make sure y'all Appreciate everybody. We'll be here again. You already know, man. Monday morning live, 8 a.m. Talking
Really
about
quick too.
hopefully 49er win. Go ahead.
Really quick too. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna start having streams on there soon.
Subscribe to
Yeah.
Ashley's YouTube channel. Where can they find it?
It's just Ashley Ariana, same as my username right there. Yeah.
All right, subscribe to her username. I'll try to get the link and I'll put it in the description below.
Sweet.
But that's gonna do it. See y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you guys.